Back, if you're joining us, we're talking about water, the basic right that is not so accessible to a lot of people. Now, before we went on break, Mr. Oundo here was talking to us about his perspective on the water challenges. But I want to bring in this gentleman called Emmanuel from the Q-Mist company. Emmanuel, first of all, where do you get your water?
Okay,
First of all, we have two sources of water from the taps, Maji ya Kanjo. Then there is another source of water which is from the borehole. So each source of water has a specific type of materials, machines, and what have you. In my specific scope of business, we deal with borehole water, where we have invested in machinery, and we have a plant along Thika Road.
So we have some sound challenges with your microphone. Let's come back to you in a second. But back to you, Mr. Oundo. There appears to be a challenge when, first of all, the water is scarce. But then there's an extra challenge of access to quality water for human consumption. Talk to us about, in your organization, and what has been your experience as to this particular challenge across the country. Where are we? How are we doing on this?
Thank you. What according to various reports that have been given, there is no particular report that gives us a particular amount or data on the quality of water or the sanity of water. So the only reports that we normally receive is the amount of water that's distributed or a particular percentage, but on whether the water is safe or not. So the main challenge definitely, in most areas, like what you realize that people from who lives in urban centers such as Nairobi, when they happen to go to the western part of Kenya, so the water might be safe for the people who live there. But for you, when you come from the city center and you are not use that particular water, it might not be very safe.
Yeah, people react to it.
Drinking, yes. So you'll be able to react to that water. And so that safety of water, I think, is what we should be able to look at. And some of us, maybe in the village areas, what I've also seen, you realize that people in the rural areas, they will dig boreholes or the shallow boreholes and they start drinking the water without having people who are certified to confirm if that water is safe for drinking. And if there's anything that needs to be done to purify that water to ascertain the safety of that water. And definitely there are normally minerals or some chemicals that are in water. And what do we need to do to ensure that that water is safe for drinking, for both human consumption and animal consumption. And even not every water is safe for irrigation. So we need to always ensure that we are able to test the water. And if there's something that needs to be done, there are many companies that normally do that water testing and satisfy when that water is okay. And they can also give recommendation what needs to be done to purify the water to make it safe for consumption.
Just on that point, a few years ago, there was a crisis, I'm sure all of you will remember, the Owino Uhuru crisis along the coast, where we had the community that was poisoned by lead poisoning, which was as a result of industrial activity, which poisoned the land, poisoned the water, and by extension poisoned the population of that area. People suffered, kids died, and others were deformed for life. Talk to us about how industrial activities and sometimes even farming activities, the modern farming with chemicals and so on, talk to us about the connection between that and the quality of water that people across the country are accessing. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes. So, well, the current farming has changed to what we used to have 10 years ago, 20 years ago. 20 years ago, when we were farming in our villages or in the rural areas of Ugenya, Busia, and other places, we never used to use the industrial fertilizer or the chemical fertilizer, the likes of DAP, CNN, whichever you're calling it. We only used to have the manure the cow manure, or some of the lands were very virgin and they could always produce good maize or any other crop that you have planted without adding industrial fertilizers. Over the years, currently you cannot even plant anything without having fertilizer, the planting one, the DAP, the top dressing one. So what has happened over the years, when it rains, that fertilizer has some chemicals. So those chemicals go to the river, the water sources. They're able to contaminate the water sources, and that becomes dangerous in terms of consumption. So I think we also need to change. I mean, we want to take this opportunity also to ask the government, whichever the fertilizer that is in the market, to ensure that that particular fertilizer doesn't have some chemicals that pollute the environment and also pollute the water. Leave alone that we also have some pesticides and herbicides that we use that are very, very harmful. And when it rains, that those impurities and those chemicals are taken to our water sources, and our cows drink that water, our sheep drink that water, and even some of us bathe that water. We drink that water. The same water, we use it to water our crops, and that we still consume that, and that's why we get this we get cancers and various diseases that we can't explain. Okay. And a study has been done, and also have done articles before on herbicides such as Roundup. And of course, I mention this boldly. I know Linda is looking and wondering whether that is legally right. There's a case that was won in California about Roundup, and Roundup has been banned in other countries, but we are still using in this country. Okay. So I'll also call upon the government to ensure that some pesticides and herbicides that have been banned elsewhere in the world, they should not be dumped here, and including some technologies, such as some batteries that we're using, and even these things that are coming with maybe computers, the lithium, that are very, very harmful to the environment and water sources, should be banned, so that we only have products that are safe for us in this particular country. And if we are consuming things that are not safe, then we are killing the posterity.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Now, before we shifted there, we needed to hear from Emmanuel, but I understand there's a wonderful demonstration here that we would like to see. And as Linda proceeds to set that up for us, Emmanuel, you were telling us about where you actually source the water. And talk to us a little bit about the challenges your company faces in getting this quality water, and what do you actually do to this water to make it accessible and safe for your clients?
Okay, thank you, Victor and Linda. Okay, from my scope of business, there are two sources of water. Either you get it from the Kanjo, the normal sewer line, or you can get it from the borehole. So in our company, we have invested in machinery, whereby we have decided to source for our water from the borehole, whereby we have bought machinery, we have set up a plant where we purify water through reverse osmosis in our plant, and then that water is stored in the tanks, and then we sell to other water vendors and supply to our own shops also around the urban area. Yes.
All right, all right. Thank you so much for that. We'll come back to you in a second. But Linda, take it away.
All right. I'll come back to Emmanuel as well to just find out whether how wanafurahia sahili watu hawana maji. Ama it's a different story because now it's business. But we'll come to you. We'll come to you, Emmanuel. Please, you'll respond to that. But, you know, especially in the informal settlements, when we're talking about water safety, you know, then we ask ourselves, fine, even if you're going to give these people water, just how safe is it for drinking? And the lady here, Phoebe, as well as Dennis, gentleman here, will be telling us what their entity does. But of importance, they're just going to give us a slight demonstration of what it would mean for you to have this particular equipment, say, back at home. And then, of course, it'll be friendly or helpful for you to actually use, especially when it comes to getting drinking water or water for cooking. So, karibuni sana. I think mnaweza simama, feel comfortable. Quickly tell us what it is that you do, what your entity does. You come from the same entity. We're not scaring to a ground. And you also tell us just what it takes to make sure that, the ground aligns to this and they actually get get help. So
Yeah, thank you so much, Linda. Let me just introduce myself. My name is Dennis Mavia.
yeah.
I'm the National Director of the Bucket Ministry, organization dedicated and on a mission to sharing God's love through the gift of clean, safe drinking water. So just to put this thing in perspective, first you have to understand it's only 3% of water that's conducive for human consumption.
Okay.
Then out of that 3%, you find 1%, almost 40% of the 1% is contaminated.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and contamination is through the industrial pollution, is through, sometimes you find weak connectivity among the water sources.
Yeah.
So that has led to contamination. And when there's contamination, especially in informal settlement, you'll find people are dying for waterborne diseases, cholera, and all this.
Okay.
Yes.
So how does this come in handy even as Phoebe introduces herself?
Okay, thank you, Linda. My name is Phoebe Wafula, and just want to add on what Dent has said.
Yes.
There's a way whereby people are getting water from different sources,
right.
And you come to realize there are many ways that people are purifying water for drinking.
Okay.
That's why we have another method where we call as filtration, whereby you see that people are boiling water. They are also using water gut so that they can get water that is safe for drinking.
For drinking, yes.
But mostly when it comes to boiling, you come to realize we have some minerals that are being
that are lost, yeah.
Yes, and also when it comes to using water gut, still you are going to use chemicals.
Okay.
And when it comes to filtration, we see that we are just separating the solid particles from the liquid so that some substance can get out. And that is what we call as filtration.
And of course, how affordable, how available, and all that will be coming to that. But yes, could you please just get to the demonstration of this very fast, in the shortest time possible?
So, Linda, I think...
I can just demonstrate shortly.
Okay.
There's a reason why we are using this soil to put in water.
Okay.
We have some places whereby they can't access clean water.
Okay.
So this one shows that the capability of this filter to filter clean water, whereby when it comes to areas where there's no filters, there's no clean water,
yes.
And you have this filter,
Okay.
still it can filter clean water.
All right.
That's
So
why
maji
we are
chafu kabisa
kabisa.
ya mchanga.
Yes.
So that soil is for what exactly? Ya kuchafua maji? or-
Kuchafua maji,
Okay, chafua
so that you
tuone.
can see the
Mbona husema mimi nikuje na mchanga yangu?
still is okay.
Okay.
So what you are assuming, Linda, is this is now, once Madam Director has certified the water, we are assuming this is what now people get.
Okay.
So imagine in rural places.
All right.
So this is what they get.
So at first, this is ini mchanga,
Ini
like
mchanga
you've picked
tu
it from
normal.
outside, eh?
Yes.
Okay.
They're normal.
Mchanga normal, all right. So that is dirty water. That's basically
Yes.
what people are accessing.
Exactly.
And yes.
So it's just going to start vizuri.
Na mkono yako tena.
Mkono yangu tu ndio. Yani
Imagine mimi nitakunywa.
ikwe chafu, yeah.
Okay.
Ikwe chafu
Sawa.
kabisa.
All right.
Yeah.
So we are
And just also, once it's filtering, this filter is capable of removing 99.99% of any impurities that are here.
99.99%.
Yes.
Proven, tested.
Proven, tested.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it actually works as your skin. You can't see your skin, but when you sweat, you see water coming. So basically that it works as your skin.
Okay.
And if you can clearly see, this is what is entailed in the filter. So here there are very small holes inside.
Okay.
That you can't be seen by naked eye. So what happens, all the germs are trapped from one side.
Okay. So this is like how the filter looks like.
Yes, that is how it appears now.
All right. So cleaning of this filter and everything, what happens in the event that I have this at
We are
home?
going to show you now.
All right. Okay.
All backwashing, which is going to.
Okay. So you may clean.
Yeah. So
It is that fast.
Yes, that is how it looks now.
Okay.
Yours is coming. So
I am not sure I want to. I am not sure. I am convinced. Hiyo umenawa ndani alafu tena mimi nikunywe.
So it's very purely safe. Purely safe. It has been proven. So do you ask yourself,
What is the technology here? Because I am curious. Okay, do I ask myself?
So what do you, like when the whites are coming, and I heard Jared saying when you go to the village, it's only that there are different bacteria in different environments.
Okay.
So when you carry this and you go to the village and you filter that water, you're not going to get sick.
Okay.
So that's why when you see whites coming, they always carry such things and they don't get sick. And
Also, they come with their baggage, that ends up being actually helpful.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So availability of this, I am curious, even as you continue to tell us, and I mean, when you say this is a bucket that perhaps you're going to go to Kibera with, or you're going to go to another informal settlement with, I mean, just how available are they for the people there, and accessible for that matter, and just how many households can this particular one, serve?
So what we do is, first we do an assessment to count that's yours.
You can test.
I will test. Let's proceed. I will test. Test, I will.
The first thing we do assessment to count all the homes that are in certain informal settlement.
Okay.
So let's say we found 10,000 homes.
Right.
Then we have well-wishers that donate these filters.
Right.
But the bucket, so this filter is so basically this is how the filter works.
Sorry.
Okay, sorry, it's all right.
Yeah. So this is basically how the filter looks like.
Okay.
So I think, Linda, you're going to filter again.
Oh, so you're going to filter some more for me. All right, there goes my glass. Okay, sorry about that.
So this is actually what the filter
Looks like, okay.
So, and this one is attached to a bucket. So the bucket I just procured.
One filter, one bucket.
Yes.
Okay.
So then one filter goes to one home.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it's able to filter up to 1,000 liters in a day.
All right.
So basically, it can serve the entire.
So
homestead.
you should actually just let it be running,
Yes.
poly, as it filters water for drinking, for cooking, and all that.
Yes.
Okay, so if it is salty water, does it come out still as salty water? What happens?
So for salty water to happen, there has to be energy.
Okay.
So basically, when you put salty water here, anything that dissolves in water is not going to be filtered.
All right.
So things like, that's why we do testing before we advise people you can use from this source.
All right.
So the first thing we do testing, then we say this water doesn't have lead, it doesn't have all the minerals and all those lead and other things that can cause cancer and all. So we advise, we do the testing, then we advise the community, don't use that because of certain elements that are there that the filter is not able to take them out.
All right, and as I allow for the other people on set to as well ask questions, I hope it is okay for me to just remove some of these things that are in here.
Yes.
Victor, the floor is open if you have any questions, and also the gentleman on the other side, in case there's anything you would want to ask. I hope then, of course, you have the chance to proceed and do so. But where is my water?
Yeah, it is.
I'm not sure I have the confidence to do this, but all the same, tuendelee tuone. Just how available are these in the country? Like Amatuni, those informal settlements, na hiyo story inaishia hapo?
Mostly we always consider the slums areas.
Tuendelee.
Linda, what does the water taste like?
It is actually, unasikia hiyo maji yenye Emmanuel anaita ya kanjo. Typically what during my times when I was just young, pretty much stayed in Nairobi and tulikuwa tunakunywa maji ya kanjo. You know the way someone comes to your home and they tell you, maji yenyu ni tamu, mmepika na nini? Basically that. But you don't get that much of that nowadays.
Right.
So if tamu, like basically it's good water.
All right.
You tell me. Yes, you were saying something.
Okay. Mostly the well-wishers are the ones that always bring it. This from this company called Soya Filters. So the way the well-wishers, they donate and they bring to the community. And mostly where it came whereby one of the missionaries was passing by and saw the supply of the water through the pipes, how it mixed with some dirty waters. That's when he said that I need to help these people. Okay. And that's why he came up with this filter process whereby to help the community.
Right.
And so far we distributed some in Kibera and we did the distribution of 81,700. That is the households that we were given to the Kibera slums.
All right.
So far we are in Kawangware, whereby we are now starting distributing to these people.
Okay.
Kawangware, we are hoping we'll be serving
It's double than
150,000 and some numbers, their homes.
Beautiful. Maintenance and all that?
So,
installation, is there anything?
So that's where we're coming from. Yeah. So you've seen ours is a ministry.
Yes.
So basically, ministry, there's a Christianity in there.
Element to it.
Yes. So this bucket also introduces us to, we are not just giving buckets and disappear.
Okay.
We want to create relationship with the people that we are serving.
All right.
So once we give once you get this bucket, so we always visit you 3 times.
Okay.
And during that time, we engage you in terms of spiritual aspect, just to also know how you're doing.
All right.
And also, once we have done that, and there's no electricity. There's it's just simple. Once you've like the way you've seen That's what people always do. So once you put the water here, it just filters.
So it could just be
That's it.
set somewhere
Yes.
close to the tap at home and all.
Then when our missionaries go, like the volunteers, they also go and check if sometimes they are leaking.
Okay.
So that's how we do the maintenance.
The maintenance
part
process.
But also we use that to spread the word of God, because our mission is sharing God's love through the gift of clean, safe drinking water.
Beautiful. Gentlemen, you have questions for
And
this
maybe
team?
just to add on, this filter lasts for more than 20 years.
Yes.
So it will depend with how you are going to keep it.
Use it and and clean it and make sure that it's good as
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
Any question, engineer? Is it making sense?
Well, we'll discuss with them how far it removes the microns.
The impurities and all that.
What they are removing, what I can understand, is what we call suspended particles
Exactly.
in water.
Yeah.
But they are small pathogens.
When you remember when I was taking that water as well,
Let me
which I
interact
may
with
not know
engineer.
whether they're in that water. I
Okay.
saw them removing water. It's bottled water anyway.
Yes.
Let me interact with Linda, if you allow me.
Uh-huh.
So we had this discussion earlier, and we understand the holes here are 0.11 centimeters in terms of. So basically, anything, and jumps are like 2.
Have it up so that people can see.
Yes, like 2.0 centimeters there. So the only thing that can pass here is a virus and water, because of the small particles that here it's only something that's very small that is allowed to pass here. And if you see it, you can't see any holes here, but if you see the microscope, you're going to magnify and you say actually they are holes. So basically what happens, germs, pathogen, they are trapped on one side.
Okay.
So only what's allowed to pass is water and anything that dissolves.
So when do I get rid of all these germs and pathogens now that this is stationed in my house for like 20 years?
That is another step that I'm going to show you now, how to remove those germs.
Yeah, so
Very fast, so that
it's
very
something
fast.
called, but we need to empty this, but or we can just do the back.
We'll come back to you. We'll come back to you, of course. Gentlemen, let me read two responses from the people back at home. Charlene Washia says, good evening. In Bungoma, which is in a highland, water is not easily available to most people. We still go to the river. Florence Nyambura says, we last saw water in our taps last year, September. And then there is another person who says, good evening, Patrick from Ruiru. Water is accessible on daily basis within my area. But in Kitui, we have minimal people who have access to piped water. In some areas, the pipes were vandalized. And then, hello, my name, Jack from Kitengela. Of course, this is something different. I think it was in regards to politics. But yes, in Kitui, we get water once a week. Moyakani, over to you.
Yes, indeed. So I think we actually sent a question on our social media platforms to the people of Kenya across the different walks of life. And we asked them, simply put, is water easily accessible where you live? We have only 3 answers from people who say yes, that water is easily accessible. One even goes as far as to say water is accessible, but is it clean and safe? No. So there's a question here for one engineer. The question is this: how is the organization of the Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company dealing with the challenge of water theft? Someone is asking, how can you make sure that water theft is dealt with? Number 2, there's another question also from another viewer. They're asking, what are their plans to make sure that the shortfall of, you said about 200,000?
230,000.
230,000. Someone is asking, so thank you for telling us that you have a new plan for creating water in the country. I'm just paraphrasing. So what are you going to do to make sure that the shortfall is dealt with?
Now, thank you so much. First, how we are dealing with water debt. I said the national government has formed water police units to deal with the criminals who steal water, who want to eat what they have not planted. All over, it's connecting illegal connections. And at times, actually arresting those concerned. I think on Monday we were disconnecting along Outer Ring Road at Uruma area. And tomorrow I know we will be disconnecting another area. So we are handling those illegalities so that we can ensure everybody pays for the water we don't have non-revenue water. We know when you steal the water, unless you export it, it's meeting a certain demand in the city. But we want money so that we can be able to improve service, so that we can be able to be sustainable, so that we don't borrow loans to do our infrastructures. We use the revenue we generate internally. Now, when we come to the shortfall of water supply to the city, it is true we have a shortfall of around 230,000 cubic meters. Of course, that shortfall grows at 20,000 cubic meters every year because of population growth.
Yes, indeed.
Now, there are plans to do Northern Collector Phase 2, which is tapping water from North Madioya, Embe, Kithuki, and South Madioya. Then you bring that water to Thika Dam again and have another plant. Actually, expand the new plant which was done under Phase 1 of the Northern Collector. That system will give us around 120,000 cubic meters per day. Then we have a plan to do the Maragua 4 Dam along Maragua River. The national government is sourcing for funding so that those two programs can be done. Maragua Dam will give us 130,000 cubic meters. So the total is 250. At least you can see if you do that within 5 years, you will be able to meet the demand. The demand and the supply will merge. Then there is the Ndarugo Dam, which is at the confluence of Ndarugo River and the Com River, just below Thika Town, which is supposed to produce 216,000 cubic meters when completed. But the priority is Northern Collector Phase 1, Phase 2, and Maragua Dam, Maragua 4 Dam, so that we can be able to meet demand and supply in the next 5 years.
Okay.
And those programs are in the pipeline.
All right.
Through the national government.
Okay. We can see that, and clearly, I think the gentleman who was asking the question has been answered. I have another question now to all of you as the team up here prepares to wind up with the demonstration. If you had one thing to say, I mean, obviously the issue of Nairobi and water is, and the country and water is bigger than any time that we may have. I mean, this is actually your work, to do it every day to make sure that this is done. And still, there's work to be done every day. So if I may ask all of you across the board, what is the one thing you would change to make sure that Kenya, and indeed where you come from, has access to clean, safe water regularly? What's the one thing? So we start with you, Mr. Oundo, and then we'll go to Emmanuel as you proceed.
Victor. One of the things that I'll advise, if you're in a place like where we come from, like Inungo village in East Ugenya, the water levels down are not very far. I encourage you to dig a shallow borehole, like 30 meters feet. Then after you have done that, look for companies, private companies, if the government is not available to help you, such as Aqualytics Laboratories Limited. Many of the such companies that are there, they actually, I think such one, like Aqualytics Laboratories Limited, they're based at Ramco Court in South Sea. They'll do for you testing, they'll test the water for you. They'll advise whether the water is safe for you to drink. And if maybe you are not in a position to even be able to dig such a borehole, I know there are companies that are able to even finance you, such as Medi Capital Limited. They're able to finance you to do what? To be able to dig a shallow borehole, and even places like Kibwezi, where you have to go 200 meters down, they are also able to support you. So there are many other companies that are able to support you. So that is one of the things that you can do. We should not be crying like the government do this, Rekali's idea. Remember what Kibaki said? You should also ask yourself, the government is supposed to do this. What can I do for the government?
All right.
If you're able to dig such a borehole, then you're also able to support over 10 or 20 households, and you'll be helping the government.
All right. Emmanuel, your point, quick, fast, if you can.
Okay. First of all, I would like to put it in record that I'm a beneficiary of the topic that we're having tonight, water poverty. The scope of this business generally is motivated by this particular business gap that we can't be able to provide clean and safe, heavy on safe water and have affordable prices for the same water. So for my colleague here has mentioned digging a shallow borehole. I believe digging of boreholes is quite expensive and not all Kenyans can be able to afford. So my statement for tonight is, my issue, I'd like to say, put it like this. I would wish for more entrepreneurs to come up and provide water solutions, because as much as we are getting water from the Kanjo, is not, they use chlorine, which is inexpensive and effective. But we need more measures to make our water more safe and quality for our people. Yes,
all right. Thank you for that. I'm sorry, my producer is telling me we're running out of time. So the next speakers, please, let's keep it real quick. Bernard, quick as you can. One thing that you would advise, please, quickly. Quickly.
Want the institution that is dealing with water to at least perhaps, these cartels that we are talking about, what can we do about the cartels? What can we do? The issue is, we want at least one or two of them to be arrested so that our problem can be solved once and for all.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Engineer, please.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Quickly, please. I'm sorry.
First of all, actually the national government has gotten money for the Northern Collector Phase 2 from South Korea. That's His Excellency the Governor for Nairobi and His Excellency the President of Kenya. They've gotten 14 billion Kenyan shillings to do that program. So it's in the pipeline. The second thing, for Langata areas, because the water pipeline which gives them water in Langata estates passes through Kibela, where Kibela is lower than Langata. So if we open the pipes which give water to Kibela, water does not go to Langata. We are changing the way we are supplying them water. We are laying a pipeline from Bomas of Kenya to Langata estates. That's Otiende, Ngei,
and the others.
And the others there.
Yes.
So in the next 3 months, they'll have plenty of water 4 days in a week.
Good news.
All right.
Now, the next thing
is
what I'll urge the county government, the national government, is to construct dams.
Dams.
To harvest land of water. We
when
have
it
cities
rains.
in the world which do not have rivers. What they have is valleys. Where they harvest the water when it rains.
All right.
That water is used for both domestic
and commercial and industrial use,
So county governments should be encouraged to set at least $1 billion or $500 million every year for a construction of a dam. In 5 years, you have maybe one dam in a county. Every county a dam and dam and dam. You solve the problem of water. You alleviate poverty. Solve the issues of poverty.
Thank you very much. That's a good challenge to all our county governments. Try and construct a dam, at least a dam a year, and we'll go a long way in dealing with this. Thank you, gentlemen, for the views. Look, we're completely out of time. We may not be able to see the demonstration. I want you to say one thing.
Leaders should create my own time one of these fine days. We come back to it.
We will definitely come back. Clearly, this is a conversation that's bigger than our time, so we must come back. Water is life. We will come back to give each other this conversation. One word, please. What would you say?
Water is life, and let's have eternal life.
I love that. What about you?
For me, it's let's educate the masses on how rare this commodity is. Because if we provide all the resources and people don't know how to manage the resources that we have, then we'll all go to square one.
So having water is one thing, managing it is quite another. That's a conversation, hopefully for another day. Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. For those of you who are at home, who have sent in your feedback, thank you so much. We may not be able to sample all of them. Thank you so much. May God bless you. Good night.
Good night.